Artsy friends, welcome to my second composition notebook art journal series. So today I'm going to give grid journaling a try. I've seen it a lot on, Pinterest and on my Facebook group, and I just really felt inspired to give it a whirl. So I just bought a brand new ream of watercolor paper. Well, it's watercolor or mixed media. It's 140-pound paper, and so I'm starting with some painter's tape or masking tape, and I'm gonna just tape off some grids. I'm gonna make so it's a 9 by 12 piece of paper, so I'm going to make it 3 by 4 squares. Does that make sense? And so I'm doing my best with my measuring tool to figure out where they go. Just kind of divide by 3 and then factor in the center point of the tape. So they don't have to be perfect. I rarely do anything perfectly. I find perfectionism is highly overrated. Since I've been working in my composition notebook, I really haven't had a chance to play around with watercolors much. I did experiment and found that the cheap paper in a composition notebook does not hold watercolor well. So I have contemplated kind of like, should I cut out some watercolor paper and put it in my art journal? Is that like, I don't know. I want to be authentic in everything I do and not like just copy and paste things. Does that make sense? Like I want to like work in the journal. But then I got to thinking that, hey, I can make my own rules for one. And also I like the consistency of just whatever kind of art and media that I'm working with, kind of including it in my composition journal. So at this point, I hadn't decided whether or not to incorporate it into my journal, but I did end up doing that. Thus, it's still part of this series. And I will show you, of course, at the end how I'm going to do that. But for now, I am taking my first media, which is this blue watercolor, and I am just moving around in each square, and I'm going to try to do just different designs, different shapes, different lines. I know a lot of people use grid journaling as kind of a art creative block breaker. If you're having a creative block, it's just a way to experiment and just get your creative juices flowing again. I don't know if there's like an official way to do it, but in my mind, what makes sense to me is I start with my first medium, which is watercolor, and then I move on to my second one. So now I've got each grid has blue watercolor, and now I'm going to get this silver paint out and do some stamping. I have a video of when I made these stamps. These are all homemade stamps. All you do is cut out cheap craft foam and like the peel and stick kind, and cut it out in any various shape, fashion that you like, and put it on a piece of cardboard. That's pretty much it. I made a video on it, but that's pretty much it. My phone was full and did not record the rest of my stamping with my silver stamps, but you can see how I use the little dots and the swirl. So now I'm going in with just a thin black marker, and I'm going to do some doodling in each square. So the challenge, I think, is just to come up with a different pattern, a different line in each square, so that each one kind of has its own unique composition and combination of elements. It reminds me a little bit of doing a masterboard, other than here you're actually working on the surface that you see. If a masterboard, which I did a video a few videos ago, a masterboard is when you collage and do all kinds of things on one side, and then you flip it over and kind of blindly cut it up into squares or rectangles or whatever shape, and then you just kind of see what you get, which is super fun. I loved it, and I want to do some more of that. This is a little bit different in that you are seeing the grid that you're working on, of course, and then you're intentionally kind of creating a different composition in each square. I'm not paying too much attention to if any of the squares next to each other are too similar or if they complement each other. I think at this point I was thinking I would cut each square up and then decide how I wanted to arrange them on a page in my notebook, but I don't end up doing that. Spoiler. So this process is super fun, and it really has endless possibilities. I mean, I've seen people do all kinds of things in their grid journaling, like with mixed media, from collage and paints and all different kinds of markers and crayons and papers. So here we go. Now we are peeling away the reveal. I did outline my squares with my blue posca marker, so as I peel each layer of tape off, you can see that the square is still very defined. Some people will just loosely draw squares on a page and not tape things off and to overlap things. Some people just draw them like maybe with a light pencil, and there's just different ways you can do it. So now I'm going to figure out how to put them in to my journal. I think placement wise, if I just cut it in half, it will fit nicely on 2 pages. So I found the right color blue, and I am going to, first I'm going to trim it. Here we are. I trimmed it off camera, and I can also flip it around. And then I just stumbled on this Oreo crown. This is from my daughter's birthday party. We had a Oreo identification challenge. So everybody was blindfolded, and they make like so many different kinds of Oreos. So they had to taste them all and then write down what they thought each flavor was. It was really interesting. So the winner got the crown, and I wrote Oreo on the crown. And then they didn't want it. Jeez, so rude. So I'm going to use the crown for my art journaling. So I am painting the edge blue, and I don't need to paint the whole page because I'm just going to put the grid right in the center. I'm just using Elmer's School glue. It does, when I put so much of it on there, it did kind of like want to curl the whole page. So I put some heavy books on there to kind of flatten it out. Once I get them glued into place, then I will play with the crown and see what I want to do with that. Okay, so the crown already has like this really interesting shape. So I'm just kind of trying to figure out how I want to use it. Do I want to frame it around the outside? I'm trying to make it overlap the gutter here with another piece, and it just doesn't feel very cooperative. So I'm cutting out some more pieces. They look like chess pieces almost. I don't know. I like the uniformity and the fact that I can just cut them out and they're kind of already unique and cool. So I'm realizing as I'm moving around the page, though, that I want to put some silver inside of each grid, which I think will kind of probably be more in tune with the whole concept of grid journaling. So I don't lose that if I cover up too much if I was going to frame it in from the edge. So yeah, so that's the direction I'm going. I'm going to go ahead and glue pieces right in. Now I used wet glue, and I realized real quick that because I have watercolor on that, that the wet glue started to reactivate and kind of smudge it a little bit. So I started using the glue stick, which worked much better and did not smear my watercolors at all. Don't these look like little diamonds in my hand? I love it. So this process kind of took a long time, but I'm gonna make like a diamond marquee border around my entire spread. So it did take a while, but I did kind of figure out about halfway through that in order to pick them up and put glue on them, it's a little easier if I just have a sticky finger and pick it up that way, and then just kind of slide it off with my fingernail. So ta-da! And now I'm feeling like the inner lines are too naked. So even though I'm punching this out, I'm actually creating a stencil. So I know that my circles will be the same size as my cute little circle diamonds around the edge, but I am going to make blue in the middle. And then I just line up my little stencil hole with the previous circle, and then I can continue the pattern. And then I am dabbing just a little bit of silver paint on the inside of the dot. I started with just a regular metallic marker, and then I dug out this Zig paint pen that I've had forever. And it has like real serious paint. So that is my page. I hope that you enjoyed watching my process, that you're inspired. This is a really, really fun little art project. I really think you should give it a try and come back and hang out with me again. And have a blessed day.